bottlenecks. So we've already covered your goal. And what I expect of you is to have made notes here. I want you to be coming into this video with absolute clarity on what you want the next 30 days, the next 90 days, the next 6 months, the next 12 months. It's very, very important that we have clarity, because the number one bottleneck that we have probably had from the years behind us is that we haven't had clarity of your North Star. And what I mean by that is clarity of your North Star is the vision, is your why. Why are we improving all these different aspects of your health? Because if we don't have a big enough understanding, if we don't have a big enough draw, I guarantee it, you're never going to make it happen. When the time comes where it's hard, when the time comes when you just can't be bothered, when you want to snooze your alarm, when you want to skip a workout, when you want to, do you know what, skip that end of day summary report, this is what's going to see you through. And it all stems from that. So I want you to really take the time and just look down at your notes now. Spend a few seconds. Really feel it. Imagine everything that you've put down so far in terms of the goal and what this point here is. This is the North Star. So the North Star encapsulates all the things that you've put in here. Read it, say it out loud. This year, I'm becoming my 2.0 version. I'm losing 45 pounds. I'm getting 2 promotions, or I'm going to sign another 12 clients. Each client is worth double the profit of what I'd previously been receiving. Clarity of your North Star gives you a funnel, and the funnel will help us as we go through everything else. So your North Star, let's use this here. This is your funnel, and what this is now is the decision-making process. If it doesn't aid you towards your goal, then it does not happen. This is now how we're going to take it from 2 years worth of work into 6 months worth of work. And one of the best ways we now do that, by pinpointing, is the tool of inversion. If we know what the clarity of the North Star is, we now want to understand what's been holding us back specifically as well. So for example, if you want to sustain your energy, if you want more energy every single day, I want you to ask yourself the question, why don't I have consistent energy? And take a moment to think about that. Why don't you have consistent energy if that's something that you put down? Could it be, James, I end up going to bed at midnight because I watch an extra episode of Netflix? Is it, James, when I'm tired, I just reach for the sugar, and then that makes me crash later in the afternoon? So by looking at the tool of inversion, what we can therefore do is go, if it is late night, what's the opposite of that? Quite simply, early night. And what we're looking to try and do here, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're just gaining clarity of the consequences as if we don't. Because if this North Star isn't meaningful enough, you're not going to have a consistent night routine. You're not going to have a consistent wake-up routine. Now, this doesn't mean that we need to be robots and every single day for the whole entire year and forever is going to be the same. But just see what it feels like for doing it the next 7 days. Who knows? You might like it so much, you decide it's not worth to keep watching Netflix at night. And so this is what we want to do. So if, for example, the emotional response is that after a long, stressful day, you go and get yourself a whiskey or you go and get yourself a glass of wine. But you know that when you do that, you don't sleep as well. You wake up. You wake up in the morning as well feeling a little bit groggy. And, I got to get my caffeine in. The opposite to that would be, I need to stop drinking on an evening, weeknight, weekend. Now, I'm not opposed to you drinking at all. I enjoy a drink every now and again too. However, if we want to create an exceptional life, then we've got to be an exception to the rule. By default, exceptional standards. And that is what this is all about. So, using the tool of inversion, look at the goals you've put down, and I want you to ask yourself this very specific question. If I was to make sure I didn't get my promotion, if I was to make sure I didn't show up every day confident with self-belief, what would I actually have to do to make sure I didn't achieve my goal? I want you to write this down. Take some time, hit pause, do it after the video. Take some time to write down what you would have to specifically do to not achieve your goal. That's part one. Part two, once you've done that, I want you to flip it and write down what the opposite action is, because that is using the tool of inversion, and by default tells you the habits and behaviors, which we're going to get into in a later video, that you need to start adopting from this moment. Now, the final part, identity crisis. A lot of people that I work with, initially when we started, when they saw themselves in the mirror, they didn't actually recognize who they were looking at, who was looking back at them. Because in our mind, we imagine ourselves to be something greater than what we are often. And that only happens when there's a gap between our actual actions and our actual identity and the outputs that we achieve. And so this is what we're also going to touch on in a later video when it comes to behaviors and identity. So this wraps up our bottlenecks. This one's a little bit more task heavy. I want you to make sure you've got the clarity of your North Star. If you haven't put that down yet, watch the previous video. And if you have watched the previous video and you haven't got clarity of your North Star, take some time, because that's the first most important crucial point. Because if we don't know where we're heading, you're going to get nowhere fast. The next part, do the tool of inversion. Write down exactly what you would have to do in order to not achieve your goal. Then, opposite, by default, what would you therefore have to do to achieve it? And next of all, recognize a big part of your growth is your identity. And that is what we're especially going to be changing. So join me in the next video for part 4, which is we're going to be breaking everything down specifically. Nutrition.